Meadow systems, to me, are characterized by being able to look out and get this vista without too many trees of a gorgeous plant community, with marmots running around, with a bear eating huckleberries. And if we don't restore the existing recreational trails, you'll see those same things, but you'll also see these scars across the landscape. My name is Beth Fallon. I'm the plant ecologist at Mount Rainier National Park, and I oversee the vegetation program. Meadow restoration is really important for the park because meadows are an incredibly important and popular part of the Cascades ecosystems. And the meadows here at Paradise are some of the most accessible meadows in the Cascades. Washington's National Park Fund provides us really important funding to facilitate volunteer events. So last year, even in the middle of the pandemic, we had almost 1,000 volunteer hours that helped us plant in a really disturbed area of the meadow right along the trail. So it's a really visible area that revegetating is super important for the park to do. This summer, we have the goal of planting at least 40,000 plants and then moving up to help start to restore a decommissioned section of the Skyline Trail where the Trails crew has completely rerouted the trail system. Washington's National Park Fund is also funding our efforts to include more grade school and middle school and high school children in our planting efforts, and we have a few classes or groups join us every year, but we'd really like to expand that effort to pull in more students who don't get the chance to maybe visit the meadows and give them a chance to plant a plant that these are really long-lived plants and they could see them in the future. They could see them with their children. What we want to do is to be able to hike up a trail and look out in the meadows and see mostly meadows. That's the dream. And so an important part of the restoration work is just giving us that opportunity to feel like we're immersed in the meadow rather than in a system of trails. Returning a meadow, when it's been disturbed, takes a ton of effort. And it takes conscious work that it won't just happen on its own. It would over millennia, but not in our lifetime. So if we want to walk the trails in Paradise and have the meadow jut right up against the trail so that we can watch bees pollinating flowers right at our feet, we might need to do some work to do that.
The inspiration of working in Big Beaver Valley comes from the ability to see the immediate effects of protection and controlling of adverse plants to the system. My name is Miles Berkey, and I am the North Cascades Invasive Plant Program Field Lead. So the Big Beaver wetlands are our largest wetland complex in the park. They span an area from the sort of almost edge of Ross Lake, 6 miles up the Big Beaver Valley. They cover about 800 acres of wetland, prime, nearly pristine wetland. Reed canary grass was initially found in 2009 in Big Beaver. This is it in its young stage. It grows rhizomatously, so it spreads through root rhizomes. In 2017, we started resurveying for it and found that it had infested over 4 acres of wetland. If this project were to stop, reed canary grass would spread throughout the wetlands, and over time it would become the dominant species of grass. And we would see all the different nuanced niches in the wetlands that would be displaced by a monocrop of reed canary grass. So a big challenge is most of the time I'm the only one out here doing this. If there's enough funding, I am sometimes given a seasonal to help me treat weeds and survey for weeds. Washington's National Park Fund can help our work up in Big Beaver Valley by providing funding to hire seasonal biotech workers to have a stronger and longer presence in the valley. Looking down the road, I'd love to see visitors come to the park, and if they happen to be walking down Big Beaver Trail, to see an intact mosaic of a wetland that Big Beaver has been for hundreds and hundreds of years.
The legislation that created the National Park Service required us to leave parks unimpaired for future generations, and revegetation is a crucial way of achieving that. Without revegetation, we lose community types, we lose species, we lose human landscape connections, not just with visitors, but with the original peoples who lived here for thousands of years. My name is Janet Coles, and I am the supervisory botanist for Olympic National Park. The scope of the revegetation program is park-wide. We revegetate disturbed lands across the park, and those can take the form of lands disturbed by natural processes such as fire, landslide, wind throw, but we also focus most of our efforts in revegetation on lands disturbed by humans. The Matt Albright Native Plant Center was created to produce plants for the Elwha Dam Removal and Restoration Project. So it's a sizable facility. It's capable of producing hundreds of thousands of plants each year. Now that the Elwha project is done, we're using that facility to produce plants for other revegetation projects in the park. Washington's National Park Fund is crucial to getting the revegetation work done in this park. Without that funding, we would not be able to incorporate the work of volunteers who are essential to getting the work done. We need many hands. All this work has to be done by hand. None of it's done by machine. We can't afford to pay all the hands, and so volunteers are absolutely essential. And the fund's support allows us to have a volunteer coordinator whose job is to recruit and mentor, train, and reward volunteers who come and help us with the revegetation programs. When you think about restoration, you think about, oh, well, we're restoring a car, we're making something that's old new again. When we're restoring ecosystems, we're making something new old again. It's kind of inside out. So we need the element of time. Having stable funding is absolutely critical to the program, in that we are growing plants for long periods of time. In 10 years, I hope to come back to some of these sites that we've revegetated and see the trees that are taller than I am and the understory that's revegetated. As long as we start them on their way, we have a chance.